Hello, welcome back to Raising Arrows Mama. My name is Heather, and today we're going to give some examples of composition. If you are new here, my name is Heather. I am mama to 8, and I have been homeschooling for about 8 years. My children go from infant all the way up to 15. She's a sophomore this year, and we have been homeschooling for about 8 years. But I still feel like a Charlotte Mason newbie, even though I know I'm not. I am going through the Charlotte Mason Volume 6 and sharing about each subject and what she says about that through my Knowledges videos. So go check out those previous videos. There's Knowledge of God, and there's several in that section. And right now we're going through Knowledge of Man, and there's several in that section, but we just talked about composition, so you definitely want to go check out my previous video about Knowledge of Man, composition, and what Charlotte Mason says, because that is crucial to today's video. Also today, I am not going to be sharing about elementary school composition. If you go back to that previous video, you will see why, and that's because I have talked ad nauseum about narration, and I have several videos, and I don't want to bore anybody who already knows. Go check out those previous videos on oral and written narration and how we use it in our home and what it should look like in those early years. Now, going on, let's talk about what we're here today for middle school and high school composition. As I shared in my last video, I am not hitting all the marks in middle school composition. We're working on it. We're working on it. Everybody's a work in progress. This is all new to me. I went to college for elementary school education. This is a whole new ball game for me. And so I'm learning along with my guinea pig older students. So today I want to talk to you first about middle school. Middle school is looking very much the same. We're doing written narrations. My middle schoolers aim for 4 a week. So I have a 6th grader and an 8th grader. My 8th grader is mildly dyslexic, and that definitely shows forth in her writing. Not quite as much in her reading anymore. She's getting a lot better about that, but her writing is still a struggle. And so we go for about 4 narrations a week. And I ask them, if you do Bible one day, then the next day pick a different book to do. So if you do history one day, then the next day do one of your science ones or your literature, and so on. And they're really good about that. I don't have to police them. If you had a child who maybe needed to, you could do a checklist, and that would help. And so I don't police it too much, but every day they do have to bring me their notebooks and share their narrations. Otherwise, they're doing oral narration for the rest of it. And you can see my previous video on narrations. I did one this summer where I did a quick cross comparison. I don't have their books with me at the moment. We are still mid-move-in after our great housing thing where we literally moved everything out of the house and now trying to get stuff back in, plus the start of school and a whole bunch of church events. It's been a bit chaotic, but I digress. What I'm trying to say is that if your middle schooler is writing 1 a week, that's great. If you want to wait and get them built up, that's what you have to do. I started with my 4th graders. They do 1 a week. By about 5th, 6th grade, I try to get them up to 2 a week. By 7th grade, 6th and 7th grade, by 6th and 7th grade, my goal is to have 3 a week. And so that way, hopefully we're going into high school doing 1 every day. We do 4 days of school, and the 5th day is kind of a catch-all. And so I try to get them up to that, and then I build from there. That has worked so far for my kids pretty well. I do not give them, as I shared in the last video, I do not sit there and correct everything. I do not get out my red pen and edit it up. I do often have them read it aloud to me because they'll catch their own mistakes that way. I also have certain things, like by the time they get to middle school, they should be able to have uppercase letters at the beginning of every sentence. They should be able to use punctuation at the end of each sentence correctly. They should be doing capital letters for people, proper nouns, and a lot of different things like that. I have a checklist, but again, it's packed up. I don't have it with me that I have given them. And that tends to help because they know what things they're looking for then. I am not real strict about it in middle school, but it is something we will bring up. If there is a spelling error, I will sometimes point it out. But as I said, my one child is mildly dyslexic, and so I don't make it a big thing to point out every misspelling, but words that I think she should know. Like for a while, she was inverting the A and the I and said, and so we made sure that that's a word we need to know how to write. We need to know how to write that one, and things like that. But otherwise, we try to pick and choose, and I never give my kids in middle school or elementary school more than 3 critiques at a time. That's just my personal rule, because I feel like more than that is missing the point, because I want them to get their words on paper, tell me what they read. We're doing grammar lessons, we're doing dictation. The time will come when we will do some heavy editing, but this is not it. And I find that having them read it aloud to me actually helps them to catch a lot of those own things without me pointing out. And so that's what I do for middle school, where I pointed out in the last video that I am clearly missing the beat is on poetry. And I need to pick that up, figure out how to do that. My kids do read a poem every day, and we read quite prolifically poems as a family. So it's not that we're missing that portion of it, but teaching the scansion, new term for me, I need to work on that. And then also short essays by Form 4, that's 9th grade. And we are working towards that. That is one concept that I kind of dropped the ball with my oldest, and we're just now picking it up in 10th grade. I'm okay with that. She is a wonderful writer. She writes like a lot for fun. So I'm not super worried about it, but kind of working towards that essay format. And part of that is exposure. And we just start in 9th grade reading some more essays and short stories. So, you know, that will come with time. And so I'm not too worried about it, especially because I have something to show you on how we do that. But first and foremost, I wanted to share an example. My kids, like I said, they do written narrations, you can see that. But one that I don't have, that I show very often, is I've been trying to incorporate over the last few years more diverse methods of narration. Sorry, my phone died there. My kids don't like that kind of thing. They don't like to act it out. They don't like to make comic strips. They don't want to write a newspaper article. We have tried that one a couple times, but my kids do well with write a letter from a character's point of view, or write to another person, or things like that. And also poetry prompts have been really good. If you're looking for great ideas, there's a plethora of them out there. But I really like looking at Charlotte Mason's examples in here and in school education. There's just some examples of exams, and that helps me get some ideas. And so when I first started learning about that, my daughter was reading Ivanhoe. She loved it. And so in her exam, I said, write a poem about Ivanhoe. Very simple prompt. And she wrote this, which I wanted to share because I love it. The disinherited knight, he went by name. Cedric's own son, he did not want to claim. The Lady Rowena was his true love dear. Evil Prince John he did not fear. The torment the prince held he won. The tournament the prince held he won. Ivanhoe, Cedric the Saxon son, the queen of love and beauty he chose. Lady Rowena sitting in the rose. I just love it. It was like the first time she'd been given that prompt to write it in poetry, and I didn't know how well it would go. And I thought that was an amazing first one. So I like to bring that out. But now let's get into high school. What are we using? I was struggling. I was using Know and Tell, which is I highly recommend, by Karen Glass. However, some of it is a little strict. So, you know, bear that in mind. Use your own discretion in how you, like, I don't count my kids' words. I don't measure, you know, oh, you did this many pages. I know what I expect from them, and it's to be getting longer and to be getting better and deeper. Because if they can tell me succinctly something very deep about what they read, I don't care if they make 1,500 words. We're not doing that. And so there's some of that nuance, but overall, Know and Tell is a great way to learn about composition, but I was struggling on how to know how to put it into practice. And then Karen Glass made a composition, which is great. So you can get this from Simply Charlotte Mason. You can probably get it printed. I bought it digital like the day it was out. We are just now really getting into it. We struggled to have time for this last year, and so I'm making time for it. We got it like in February. I don't know. It came out just a few months ago. And so we are on week 5 of school, and she's getting ready to do lesson 5. And here, what I like about it is it has a nice little like explanation of what you're going to consider, and kind of like a grammar rule or something about it. So like this one was using variety and sentence structure. She has different topics that you're focusing on, understanding clauses, just various things throughout. And then she'll have an assignment, which generally is editing one of your narrations from the previous week or throughout the week. And it gives you a step-by-step, like you're going to read it and you're going to read it aloud all by yourself and go through each sentence. And then she gives you step-by-step things to do. So like read each sentence of your narration aloud one by one. Listen to each sentence and ask yourself, does it sound correct? Then look at each individual word as you read and mark any word that you think might be misspelled. And it goes on. There's capitalization, there's punctuation. Then you're going to read it aloud again. And then you're going to use one of her charts to check it. And then you're going to retype it or rewrite it. I usually have my kids they like to do a handwritten narration. It's just quicker than getting computers. We don't have one for every child. And so that's often easier. And then they type it up, she'll type it up for the finished product. But honestly, that's a work in progress, because it takes time, it takes thought, it takes effort, and it is a slow learning for her to start adding this to her thing. And then at the end of each of those is a commonplace option where Karen Glass gives some kind of assignment for you to do throughout the week. This one was, you're going to write in your commonplace notebook. I think one week it was, a creative narration, different things like that to just further it. And so to help my high schooler, my sophomore, because she's a little overwhelmed with all the things high schoolers have to do. And so we did, like, day one of the week, read what the assignment is. Read what you're supposed to learn about for this coming week. She's going to read about creating complex sentences, and which is great because that's actually something she just did in her grammar lesson. And so she's going to read about that. And then another day, she's going to pick one of her, so Tuesday maybe, she'll pick up one of her previous narrations and go through and edit it and do it maybe once or twice. Then Wednesday, she's going to do the final portion of the editing. Thursday, type it up. And then Friday, do the extension or the commonplace or creative writing or whatever it might be for the week. And so we can kind of spread it out that way, because it is overwhelming all at once. However, doing it that way, like I said, we're only on week 5. It is making it much more manageable for her and very helpful for her. She's also reading how to read a book and has scheduled to read how to write, I think. I don't know. Some kind of writing book is coming up in the next term. But that's how we're dealing with composition. It is very helpful. Like this says, it's just year 1. But luckily I'm doing this with my oldest. And so she's only a sophomore. So it's not like we missed the boat. This is right where we should be doing it. And I think she's really enjoying it. I think it's meant for freshmen. So, if you have someone of that age group, you can definitely get them to do that. I'm finding this very helpful for me because I need the hand holding. Because while I could have assigned those things, I didn't necessarily know what order to do them in. I didn't necessarily have I was struggling to make a program with it. Sorry, my spiral binding's coming out. And so this was very helpful. This has been very helpful to me. I know there's a lot of other writing programs out there. But what I like about this one is that it's not teaching her a format in which to write. It's helping her to evaluate her own writing. And that's what I want for my kids. I don't want them to learn to be able to do the hamburger paragraph, and that's all they know how to do is to do the hamburger essay. I want them to be able to read something or to tell something, because we're going to get into essays as well, and be able to share that information in a way that's uniquely theirs, so that they're their own unique writer, and not just the same as everyone else. Sorry, little one's starting to wake up. So I hope that helps you understand how we're handling composition. If you have some other tips and tricks, other ways that you're doing, maybe you have a program that you just really love, drop it in the comments below. Other people come here and want to know what works best, what works for them. And it's great to have a variety of ideas in which to sift from. I love Karen Glass because she encompasses Charlotte Mason's there is Charlotte right there. Charlotte Mason's principles so well. She's well read in it. She does a great job. It does help that I have sat in on a in-service and things with Charlotte Mason, with Karen Glass to explain some of this, and that did help. But I don't think you need that. I think reading No and Tell and then reading Charlotte Mason and then using the composition would be perfect. But there are other great writing programs out there. And there are some people out there who have just a natural aptitude towards writing, and you can teach your children that way too. I just want to share what's working in our home and how I'm making it work for really not very much money, because this was a very cheap purchase and I will use it for all of my children. So just want to share that out there too. If you have any questions, drop them below. I'll do my best to answer them. Like I said, I'm still learning the ropes here. And if you have any other suggestions, drop them below. And if you made it to the end of this video and you don't have anything else to add, drop me a emoji showing how composition makes you feel personally, just because it helps me to know how many people are watching to the end, and it helps the algorithm here on YouTube and all that stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed day.